Hey, welcome back to the Mobility Project. Today we're going to work on kind of some of the hip capsule stuff that's limiting some squatting. So homework number one, we're going to go kind of work on that flexion, external rotation. Remember that every chance we get when we can load up and improve your hip mechanics with a band distraction, we need to do it. Or any joint for that matter. What's happening is that if you look at the athlete as a system, very strong, very powerful musculature around. I'm a svelte little tiny dancer. I understand you saw me in the purple pants yesterday. Thanks for the comments. But one of the things we've got to do is bias and influence what we call the passive accessory motion of the joint. So what I can do is using a band, I can basically influence what's happening at the high part of the joint, not just stretching around the joint. And so that hip capsule, imagine if you can squat 500 pounds, your hip capsule is pretty stiff. And one of the problems I think with traditional mobilizations, we haven't really looked at kind of the influences of that hip capsule. We haven't kind of talked about ways to improve the motion. So here's what we're going to do today. For starters, we're going to get some big distraction. The band is pulling basically perpendicular to the long bone, in this case the femur. I'm going to load my hip down, and I'm just going to drop that out to the side. And I can change that corner and change that kind of axis and bias as I go. So what you'll find though in this position, with that big hip distraction here, is you're going to be able to kind of access parts of your hip capsule that you couldn't get before. So let's go ahead and keep the toe on the ground. That's good mechanics. That's a very different mobilization when I release that up. I'm going to anchor my foot on the ground. I'm just going to go ahead and hang out, and I'm just going to touch that resistance. If I contract, relax, maybe I get a little bit further. I can explore with that. Combining techniques is fine. If it doesn't feel kind of muscular and more kind of just soft tissue, then I'm just going to hang out here and make little oscillating changes. So elbow to the ground. I mean, this would, again, we'd say this is the sickest overhead squat position you can be in. But let's go ahead and hang out here first. Open up that hip for starters. Then let's go ahead and flip it up. So 2 or 3 minutes on that. We'll flip it up, get into our Olympic squat position, back to the wall as far as you can. Walk those feet out. Basically the same thing, but because we're changing the position, changing the back stabilization, really has a different effect. If you could somehow figure out how to tie yourself to the ground on this, it would work, but I'm just going to drive my feet out. Again, we get a lot of questions about what I should be doing with my feet. If I turn my feet out, the problem is that I automatically start to collapse through. And if you just do this, you'll see that the foot collapses because it's the external rotation of the ankle that helps to keep the arch supported. So whatever your position you're going to be in with your feet, at some point you're going to have to really work to create that external rotation torque to keep that foot in position. What most happens is that keeps the middle of the joint is out here. People pull the foot up and then it's a whole host of problems. So you can kind of solve those problems with a straighter foot. Now the arch is active and supported and I can drive out. So toy with that yourself. Contract, relax here. And let's just kind of spend a nice few minutes opening up this position. Finally, I want you guys to get into a position on the wall. And then we're just going to hang out, squeeze the butt, flex the quads, and I just want you to hang out in this position. Try to turn the feet down actively. Work here in just external rotation, cueing for about a minute or two. So just you've opened up all this medial chain, let it go a little bit further, externally rotate belly tight. As that sag starts to happen, keep trying to externally rotate actively, and you're going to feel bits of your kind of medial hamstring butt turn on that you probably haven't talked to for a while. 2 minutes there. Test, retest. See how the bottom position of your squat feels? And you're like a young cheetah. See you guys tomorrow.